Welcome back to the Fuel Your Legacy podcast. Each week, we expose the faulty foundational mindsets of the past and rebuild a newer, stronger foundation essential in creating your meaningful legacy. We've got a lot of work to do, so let's get started. As much as you like this podcast, I'm certain that you're going to love the book that I just released on Amazon, Fuel Your Legacy, The 9 Pillars to Build a Meaningful Legacy. I wrote this to share with you the experiences that I had while I was identifying my identity, how I began to create my meaningful legacy, and how you can create yours. You're going to find this book on Kindle, Amazon, and as always on my website, samknickerbocker.com. Welcome back to the Fuel Your Legacy show, and today we've got a real treat for you. Now that's a steal from good old Bradley, but today we have Travis Brady, and he's been on the podcast before, but it's been over a year, so we needed him back and back at it to share with us some of his secrets and why he does what he does, and then how we can adopt what he does into our lives. So he's like the king of branding, marketing, helping you understand how do you share your message effectively with those around you. So I've been working with Travis, I don't know, what has it been, 3 years?
3-4 years, something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like, it's funny. We were out golfing the other day, and somebody's like, well, how long have you known Travis? And I was like, well, my whole life. Not really, but Travis and I tend to think very similarly. The first time I met him was at one of, it was actually a personal trainer summit that he was putting on, teaching personal trainers how to create sustainable businesses. And I was watching him. I'm not getting choked up. I choked on my own spit. I could get choked up, though.
How does that happen?
I don't know. But yeah, I was watching him, and I was like, man, he's saying exactly what I think most of the time. This is crazy. I haven't met very many people who think the way I think. And so that's why I say I've known him forever. Even though, yeah, we've only been connected for 2 or 3 years, I feel like I've known him forever. So I'm excited to have you on.
I would agree with that too.
Yeah, it's cool. So tell us a little bit more about you, what you do, and specifically how you go about helping individuals.
Well, it's been too long since I've been on here, dude. It's been more than a year.
It probably has.
I think it's been like 2 years. Yeah, thanks. I'm glad to come back on. So I'm a branding mentor, coach's coach, and leadership speaker who helps scales people's influence, income, and time freedom by helping them build a next-gen brand and getting their story out to the world. So that's what I do. We have a team of about 10 people, and yeah, we're really growing, man. This last year has been really awesome. I know for a lot of people, they've been stuck in certain areas with the economy going on, but we've just been crushing it.
Yeah, I think one thing that is really important, I think that most people don't recognize, is through 2020, there was like more than 1 million reasons to stop your business, slow your business, or completely convert your business online completely so that you weren't doing in-person events. But something that I know about Travis, and that I also, again, this is about both of us, we really value being in person. We really value the in-person events and being able to like hug people and see the change and respond to the physical energy. And so we didn't really slow down, probably to a detriment. How many places did we get kicked out of? Not like actually
how many places did we get kicked out of?
But said that we couldn't come back.
Well, just one, and that's all it needed. and the reason why I say that, with our events, yeah, it's in person, and we and me and Sam believe a lot on, the same, and I'm sure Sam's probably told you all about it, but I really have a hard time believing, the COVID was as lethal as they were saying it was, and so I'm not even going to get into the whole political aspect, of that, that rabbit hole that we could go down that leads to nowhere. Right. But yeah, we were doing it, and they just said, your event probably isn't the best for what we're doing. You can't come back until after COVID. And so that's been just jumping through hoops, man, and trying to make it work. But I believe there's more connection more than ever before. I just believe we're less connected, and that's why I believe in in-person events.
Yeah, and I almost hate the word events. I've gone to a lot of events, and you can go to an event, but what you've created, from my perspective, which is one of the reasons I keep going back and why I love it, is it's more of an experience. It's not like the typical event. Describe a little bit what an experience with the Next Gen team is like, and how does it separated from any other event that you've been to?
Yeah, I mean, the reason why I started doing events is because, I've went to a lot of events over the years, and every time I left them, I just felt so much more empowered, so just on fire, ready to do bigger things than I was doing in my life. And events is what I wanted to do for years. Finally hired a coach to help me put it on. And one of the things that are getting up there and just preaching and just information or death by PowerPoint, I really get tired and churn out. And so I don't think we're really looking for information. The information age is dead. They say we're in the entertainment age. Have you heard that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone can get information, right? We can go. And so how do we really grow? We grow through experiences. And, the saying that I say is we are who we are through our experiences. And so if we want to, achieve a higher level of success, then we got to really transform who we are. And the best way to transform who we are is to go through some of these experiences and learn, what's holding us back and how do we be better at what we do. And Sam loves to offer the experience. Have you told him the story about your high heels yet?
No, I haven't.
He came up on stage with his high heels. What was tell everyone what the point of that was? Otherwise, they're just going to think that's weird.
No, I don't care if they think it's weird, but So the truth about high heels, or the history about high heels. Let's go farther back. The point of it was to help people understand that they need to actually be looking and studying the past rather than fearing the past. Study it and find out. And once you understand the past, whether it's in business, in finances, in relationships, no matter what area of your life, if you're able to look at the past, see the habits, see the track record, see what's going on, then moving forward, then you actually can start to expect certain things and have a lot more certainty moving forward. There's always going to be a level of uncertainty, but you can have more certainty. So high heels is a fairly flamboyant way of expressing that, because the history of high heels is that they were created for men, soldiers, and then they went from soldiers to actually being part of royalty. And the higher the heel basically was the more wealthy you were. And it was a sign of like nobody who had to be a working person could actually wear such a impractical shoe.
Yeah.
Okay. And so
they are an impractical shoe.
They are impractical. But the point is, it looks like Sam has to be brave to walk out on stage, but the reality is that I'm not brave. I just know what I'm worth. And so I can confidently walk out there on stage. Anybody else is judging me. They just don't understand history. And so the reason you're scared to go take the next step in your business, to take the next step in your relationships, to take the next step in your finances, whatever it is because you just don't know the history. If you knew the history, it wouldn't be scary anymore. And so how do we help people do that? And I just actually posted an article on Facebook and on LinkedIn and a blog where it's called, I don't think hindsight is actually 2020 for most people. So if you want to debate that, go read my article before you debate it.
Yeah.
Not you specifically, but anybody who's listening to this, I'd love your feedback. But
it really is a good article. And that's why I enjoy hanging out with Sam. And Sam makes me think about other things. He challenges me in my own, belief system and the way I do things. And it's true. Like most people don't really understand, their past, and that's why they keep recreating it. And that's why they get stuck in the cycles, that they do. So yeah, that's an awesome article. Totally go read that one.
Yeah. I just think that the experiences, so without giving all of them away, right? But what are some of what's the purpose of an experience? Like why have an experience from a psychological level? Why have an experience at an event rather than just telling somebody about it?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And I talk a lot about how the mind and body is one. For those who are familiar with him, his name's Elliot Hulse. He was probably one of the most inspirational coaches I've ever hired. And he came from a background of mine, which is from personal training and fitness and nutrition and whatnot. And he talks about the body and mind are one. And he talks a lot about how the body is actually stronger than the mind. And when I first say that, I get all people up in feathers. Oh, the mind's more powerful. Mindsets everything. And I do believe it starts in the mind. I won't argue that. It starts with a choice. It starts with a conscious choice to do something, right? However, if you start looking at the way that our bodies put together and the way we're programmed from a human evolutionary standpoint, and even just physiological and psychological, that's not the case. The truth is that our body actually does have a lot of influence in our mind. And the analogy I give is kind of like a flower, right? If you look at a flower, everyone notices the rose or, the color, right? And they pay attention to that. Well, what made the rose? What created that rose? Well, it was the root. It was the seed. The seed planted into the earth, and it had to absorb nutrients. And as a result of absorbing nutrients, water and sun, right, it's been able to put together this flower, right? And our mind is the same way. We go through experiences, we feel it. And if you look at our central nervous system, which consists of the brain and all the nerves that run through the body, it actually looks a lot like a flower. It looks a lot like the tree. And so we pay attention to our head, to our mind, such as like we'd pay attention to a flower. However, it's really the body that really teaches us. Like I always ask this people, Sam, what'd you learn in 7th grade math class?
Nothing.
What'd you learn in 7th grade? What do you remember about 7th grade? Let's ask you that.
Well, I was homeschooled, so I don't even know how old a 7th grader is.
7th grader is 12 going on 13.
So I was working in a honey extracting plant. So I learned how to make bee medicine with lots of powdered sugar and stuff. I learned how to harvest honey out of honeycomb slides. Learned how to gas bees out. That's pretty much. I learned that steam is freaking, like, it could cut your arm in half if you had a steam gun. It's pretty crazy. Yeah, steam.
Wow.
Because the heat of steam is so much hotter than boiling water that, like, the steam, it will cut right through stuff.
Interesting.
Steam guns are insane. Anyways, but that they would use those to, after we drained all the honey, or we thought we drained all the honey, then we'd put them in these big drums that would spin, and we would steam the inside of the drum, and it would just all the honey. They would be almost like, they wouldn't even be hardly sticky. They'd be basically clean because all the honey got taken off and the steam cleaned the slide. So anyways, those are the things I learned at 12, 13 years old.
You're not a typical, you're a bad person to ask for this question. But it does prove the point too, because could you have learned it just reading a book? Could you have learned it just someone telling you? No, it was the process of actually doing something, right? Mm-hmm. And so essentially emotion creates more motion. At the end of the day, we want our relationships changed. We want to make more money, right? We want to feel better in our bodies, have more health, right? More connection with people. And all of these require to move differently. And so my philosophy is emotion creates motion. So if we want to have, if we want to change our patterns and our daily behaviors, we got to draw in an emotional response inside of our body. And the best way to draw up emotion is actually through motion. Motion drives emotion, emotion drives motion. And Tony Robbins talks about this all the time. Have you ever you need to go to Unleash Power from Within, dude.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
Yeah. Before he retires, that dude's getting old. He's what, 62?
Yeah, he is old. I don't know how old he is, but
anyways, he talks about this, all the time. At the end of the day, it's your state. What state are you in? And so that's why I believe experiences are just growing, is because it does require, that body and mind to come together. And we think that we can go through this experience and learn something, but we don't realize that the experience is really what taught us, not really what we learned through the experience.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. Another thing that I think that I've gained a lot out of experiences is, and I didn't watch Harry Potter till I was older, but in Harry Potter, there's a scene, don't know which movie, where Professor Umbridge is making Harry Potter write something down about how bad of a child he is. Mm-hmm. And then as he's writing it down on the scratch board, it's like being etched into his arm, etched into his skin. And I think it's probably one of the, as far as I've seen in pop culture or movies, it's one of the best illustrations of like when you are taking physical action, because I studied neuropsychology in college, so different study, but when you're taking action, it is firing neurons in a certain way, and it's essentially etching into your brain certain feelings, emotions, and memory into your brain. So the more you perform those actions, it's actually as if writing it into your arm, only into your brain. And so that's one of the benefits of actually experiencing it. I could tell you all about how something works, but until you go and actually start doing it, you're going to be useless at it. Mm-hmm. And so the actual practice is important as well.
Yeah. And so that's my fundamental belief. It's mind, body, and you can even add a third one, which is the soul or the spirit, or however you'd like to refer to it as. And I think the reason why people are struggling is one of those things is off in their life. And, sometimes it is a mind thing, right? Sometimes it's pure, like, no, your actions and behaviors, what you do consistently are just out of alignment, right? Or maybe there's some type of, spirit or higher purpose that's off. And I think me and you've talked about that. How much do you talk about that with your clients?
Probably 75% of my clients have had some form of faith-based conversation. I'm very cautious to use the word religion, although for me, faith and religion do get intertwined often. But I think often people misunderstand it because they always say, oh, faith in Jesus Christ, or faith in Allah, or faith in whoever, right? And the reality is it's the faith that's doing the heavy lifting in those sentences, right? People think it's Christ. People think it's Allah. People think it's Buddha. People think it's their dog or the tree or the earth or whatever, right? What's doing that real heavy lifting is the actual action of faith. And people misunderstand that. They think, oh, faith is only valuable if it's connected to what they're having faith in. It's like, no, faith in and of itself is the action word. That's the thing that's actually moving. Now, we hope that you put faith into things that are going to uplift you and cause you to move in a positive direction. But some people put faith in negative things, and they're right every time, right? so it's like faith does the heavy lifting. Now, where you direct your faith is up to you, and it's my mission to encourage you to direct it to something that I believe is a more positive anchor. But that's because that's what I believe, right? There's people who believe that the anchors that I anchor my faith to are destructive, and they wish I would anchor it to something else. And so that's going to happen at any point in life. But understanding that faith is a principle of action in and of itself, that is something I have a conversation with. Yeah, I would say easily 75+% of my clients are having that conversation with me.
So essentially what I hear you saying is faith isn't just a mindset thing that we believe. Faith is more of an action and a behavior.
Yeah, I would separate belief. I mean, it's great to believe stuff, but it's not really faith until you're acting on the belief. Right? Because we can believe all types of stuff, but if you aren't acting on it. So there's a book, I forget who writes it. I think it's Brad Wilcox. I'm not sure, but it's called Believing Christ, right? So often we say, oh, we need to believe in Christ. And it's like, well, how about do you actually believe Christ? Because the message of Christ is that we can all repent and we can all have, basically the message of Christ is that we can all improve, that there's continual improvement, okay? Without using religious language, it's that there's continual improvement. Well, oftentimes people believe in Christ and they say, oh, well, you can improve, you can change, you can do all this. But then when they look in the mirror, they aren't doing any of it. So the evidence would suggest that they aren't actually believing the message of Christ. They're just professing they believe it, but they don't actually believe it themselves.
Yeah. And that kind of goes back to what I was saying too. So many times we say these things because we know which box to check. We've been programmed to pick A, B, C, or D, and we don't really have to show our answer. We don't really have to put together, how we found it or our processes it. We just have to circle it. And I think we've been programmed to become thirsty after information, kind of like this podcast. I'm sure people listening to this podcast are looking, what information do I need in order to grow to the next level? But it's not really the information. Usually what happens, and I have a podcast too, is people will listen to the podcast, we will share an experience, and then a light bulb will go off in their mind. And the light bulb usually goes off when they have an experience, something that is similar, and it's usually pain is what pushes us fastest to change. Have you ever noticed that with people?
Yeah, I have.
People are way more motivated than they are inspired.
Yes, it's an unfortunate reality, and it's much, from a leader or a coach or a mentor perspective, it's probably one of the hardest things, because you don't really want, I guess I should say, I don't really want, as who I am, I don't really want to be motivating people or spurring them on. I would rather be inspiring them so that inside of themselves they want to go take action. I'll be honest though, as a parent, I haven't figured that out with my kids. So sometimes there's some motivation happening in my house.
You know what? I think we're just natural human beings, and I think it's always going to be, a motivation and inspiration. I think when people are stuck into the motivation, it's not long lasting, right? As soon as the fear's taken away, as soon as the pain's over, right? I actually noticed this a lot with people who grew up with not a lot of money and they start making a lot of money in their business. I actually noticed this in myself a few times throughout my career. As you get to this place in life where you're like, wow, like I'm really comfortable here. Like I have consistent money coming in. I don't really have to work to pay bills anymore. And then what happens is that what got you there stops, that motivation stops, that push stops. And then that's where I see people, getting stuck into other things. They lose the purpose of why they were doing it in the first place. Then they get caught up in other addictions and shit. There's, when we think addiction, people think, oh, porn addiction or alcohol addiction, or drug addiction. I believe everyone's addicted to something at some point during the year, whether it's Diet Coke. I was addicted to the gym, right? I think everyone has addictions. And I think one of the primary addictions that we have is information. I think we get addicted to information and we falsely believe in it, which is more of the motivation in my point of view is the information.
Yeah, I would agree, especially if you're, so I went through this process when one of the reasons I actually started my podcast was I was reading like a book every week. Every week I was reading a new book and I was listening to podcasts and I was just going, but I was not really recording my thoughts. I'm like, how do I know like how much I'm actually learning from these books, or am I just simply reading them for information's sake? And there is a time and a season for consumption, I think, and we need to be consuming a certain amount, but then at some point we have to switch into production. We actually start having to create stuff. And after about a year and a half of a book every week, I was just in consumption mode for so long. And I was like, I need to start like documenting what I'm learning. So that's why one of the reasons I started this podcast. So if you go back to the first episodes, then every Wednesday, so every Monday there was this is my thoughts on the topic. Wednesday there was a book review. And then Friday I would have a guest on that specifically could talk about that topic. And it was really helpful to keep track of like, what are you actually learning from each book? And what are you choosing to apply? And what are you not choosing to apply? So I have a question for you, Travis, because this came up with another podcast. I think it was Ellie that I was talking to. And so there's, previous to this conversation, I had only thought of two: motivation or inspiration. She's like, yeah, but then there's dedication. So how would you say? I would say motivation is if there's like an external factor motivating you that's basically a negative factor, right? It's something that you're either going to lose or basically loss. Fear of loss of some sort is a motivator, or fear of pain. And then inspiration is like, okay, I really want X, Y, or Z thing. But then the kind of past, I don't even know if it's really past inspiration, but I think it's in the middle. Sometimes we're no longer motivated, but we lose sight of our inspiration. And so then what keeps somebody dedicated to doing the actions they know they're supposed to do, even though in the moment they don't feel inspired to do them, and they aren't really scared of any punishment if they don't, right? There's no downside to not doing it. They aren't really inspired to do it. What keeps them dedicated to their habits?
That's a good question. And I think that answers for everyone. Like, usually first thing I do in the morning is I wake up and I go to the gym. This morning wasn't happening. I got back from Arizona last night. It was my brother's bachelor party down in Arizona. So we've been partaking in some unhealthy behaviors for the last 3 days, right? And so one of the thoughts that went through my mind is, it's just one day, Travis. What is that going to do? Right? And that's a slippery slope. It's just one day, right? That's a slippery slope, because even though, like, I wouldn't say I'm inspired as much as I was in the past with going to the gym. I think when I was younger, and I think this is for most guys, you want to look good, so you can feel attractive in front of the ladies, right? And then as you get older and you're married, you're like, well, my wife loves me always, and she thinks my body's perfect. She does. Like, my wife has never ever made a negative comment about my body. Like, I'm probably harder on myself. Like, I'll look in the mirror and I'll be like, man, I'm gaining some fat. And it's usually because of some of my behaviors, right? My behaviors are off. And so, it kind of takes me back to one of my quotes that Elliot Holst told me. Is he used to always say, do it whether you feel like it or not. And so in between those times, yeah, I think it's just you're so dialed down to the pattern, right, that you're just doing it out of habit. What would yours be? What would your answer?
I don't know. I think that there's a level of it is out of habit, or there's just an understanding that you want to maintain the habit. But at that point, again, I think that dips into motivation of like, I'm scared of losing the habit. So even if your goal is just to maintain the habit, then I would say that's a fear-based motivation of, I don't want to lose the habit. And you believe that if you skip one day, then your habits are potentially going to disappear. And so then you keep going. So I don't know. I honestly don't know. It's an interesting spot where, like, dedication, you do it every day, whether you want to or not. And are you just doing it just because you said you would do it? And I think it's almost more of just like inspiration is maybe how you feel about it. Motivation is how you feel about it. Dedication is, I'm somebody who, like, it's an identity of, I said I was going to do it and I'm going to do it. You're not scared of not doing it. You're not going to judge yourself if you don't do it. You also aren't inspired to do it. You really don't want to, but you said you were going to do it. And so you're going to do it. So it's more of like an identity that you choose into about whether you're dedicated or not dedicated. And that's an identity choice.
Where did she, and I know Allie, where did she take it to? What was
I don't remember. I think she was just saying that, similar to you, she was just had a baby and she didn't want to go to the gym, and she's like, well, I'm doing it. I don't care. I'm just doing it. Right.
I love Ellie.
So you have to go back and listen to the podcast. I forget, but I just think it's very much in that line where it's just, you said you're going to do it, so you're going to do it, right? That you're not scared of what people are going to say or what you're going to think about yourself if you don't do it. You're not going to shame yourself, and also you don't want to do it, but you just said you're going to do it, so you're going to do it. And I think more people could benefit from having a dedicated mentality and identity in their life than than not. And that's something that I've seen in my life. When I said I was going to do something and I've completed it, I feel a lot better at the end of it than than often I did when I started, because there's still a sense of accomplishment at the end of dedication that isn't always there at the end of motivation or inspiration. Because if you're inspired, then oftentimes you're always trying to achieve more. And if you're just motivated, then all you're doing is just enough not to get the consequence. And so when it's dedication, I feel like in my life, I've received more fulfillment from dedicated efforts than from either inspired or motivated efforts.
Yeah. And this is a good conversation. And I talked to my clients about this when they first sign up. There's essentially 4 levels of motivation and inspiration. Have I talked to you about this before?
Sounds new to me, but maybe.
Yeah, you would like this. So there's 4 essential levels. The bottom most level, okay, I would say is a lot of people, is motivation is the primary driver in their life, right? I have to go to my job or else I'm going to get fired. Okay, I have to make money at this particular place, or otherwise I'm not going to have money to pay my bills, right? Like everything in their life is motivation. Like I'm not going to go to the gym unless the doctor tells me, I have something wrong with me or I'm going to develop diabetes. Like motivation and fear and moving themselves away from pain is the primary driver. And the motivation is so powerful that they don't even look at what they're inspired to do. They don't even look at what they would love to do. Okay. I think that's a lot of people. Okay. The next level of that is the 3rd level. And I think this is most people. They have something that they're inspired to do, start a business, go to the gym, something else, but that motivation is still just too, it's just too big. The bills are too high, right? The fear of losing and not starting the business, it's just too painful, right? So they stay stuck in the motivation. Okay. And I think that's most people, right? Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I would say in one of those 2 categories, absolutely.
Yeah. Then you go to the next level, which is the 2nd level. And this is actually where you see a lot of high performers in athletes and business is they're inspired and they want to take that first place trophy, and the fear and the pain of not getting the first place trophy is so damn painful to them that it literally pushes them towards the inspiration. So it's not the primary driver, but the fear of not taking first place. And I think you'll see this in athletes like Michael Jordan. Have you seen The Last Dance?
Haven't watched it yet.
Dude, you need to watch The Last Dance, man.
Okay.
You need to everyone should watch The Last Dance because it just it's a prime example of this level too. Like Michael Jordan was going to go out there and play hard every single game, but if someone mouthed off to him, like he was talking about the story when Reggie Miller was a rookie and he came into the league, and Michael Jordan was going to go sit on the bench because it was a preseason game, and Reggie Miller said something like, "Hey, old man, why are you going to the bench? I'm gonna hoop you up," or something like that. And Michael Jordan went to his coach and said, "No, you leave me in," and he destroyed Reggie Miller. And that's an example of he wants to win so bad, and if you push him, if you challenge him on that, it drives him further to achieve that. Tom Brady has that for sure. You wouldn't notice it by his interviews, but he still wears the chip on his shoulder that he was a 6th round draft pick. However, in the highest level of performance, though, in the highest level, there is no motivation. It's all inspiration. And that's tough, though, because at the end of the day, we are human beings, right? We're programmed to pay attention to fear, right? And one of my clients was asking me, why are we programmed like that? Well, it's a survival mechanism. Our ancient ancestors must have had that hard wiring into them, or else who knows, we might not even have the human race around, right? You know what I mean? We had to pay attention to what can kill us, okay, over what can help us survive. We're going to pay attention more to the lion because the lion threatens our existence right now. We can go without the berries, right? We can go without having them, but the lion threatens our existence. And so we pay more attention to that motivation than we do in the inspiration. So those are the 4 levels of performance. And I constantly think about that. Am I letting motivation pull me back, or am I letting motivation push and propel me forward?
Yeah, exactly. And you can use it for both. And then the goal for me is to live in inspiration and have inspiration be enough to actually get off your butt and do something, because you can inspire yourself till the day is long and never do anything sometimes. so
Mm-hmm.
so the inspiration has to be enough to actually get you up and off the couch or wherever you are and actually go do something. So
Mm-hmm.
if somebody was going to go to one of these events, I know I would go, but let's hear it from the horse's mouth. Why would somebody want to go to one of these experiences?
Well, they probably don't want to go. That's the thing. They're probably in a place where they're like, yeah, I'm making enough money in my business. Things are good. Things are moving in the right direction. Right. And that's when you need to go, is when you're in that place of momentum. Right. And, I talk about this in quantum physics. Energy is either moving forward or it's moving backwards. And sometimes when we come to this pace of complacency, we think things are moving forward and we think the ball is rolling forward. But when we really look at it, what's really happening is the energy is moving backwards. And maybe it's not fast enough to make you want to do anything at this moment in time, but that's why you should come to the events. And we're everyone's in the people business, right? And we have some of the best business owners come to these events, making the best connections. We have one coming up in Vegas, May 5th through the 8th. It's called the Next Gen Business Mastermind Summit. Okay. It's going to be awesome. We've been doing events for 5 years, and I would probably say this will probably be the biggest and best one for the business owners that are really wanting to go to the next level. They're really wanting to scale their business, and they're really, wanting to create more than just money. I think, they say what, $75,000 is the happiness number. Have you heard of that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Once it's probably a little higher now due to inflation last year. Let's be honest, right? I would probably say, for me, I would probably say that's six figures, right? But anyways, once people, hit six figures, the next money up from them, it's not bringing a whole lot of happiness. And so they, like I was saying earlier, they kind of lose purpose of why they're actually doing what they're doing. The first purpose was just to get out of the motivation. Now, once the motivation ends, what's that inspiration, what they really want to achieve. So this is an event for people that are not just wanting to make more money, but they really want to scale their influence and create more time freedom in their life and to do those things. And so this is what the event's about. Sam's going to be speaking about millionaire performance habits and all that stuff. Do you want to talk a little bit about what you're speaking about?
Yeah, I'm super stoked. I mean, honestly, the hindsight 2020 article really is probably the best teaser if you want to get more details there. But I'm going to go into the details for a business owner. Like, what are some things you just have to know if you want to scale your business? This is my belief from the business owners I've talked to and the businesses I've seen. It's not really you're not really in a position to scale your business. And I define scaling as like exponential growth versus growth, right? You could grow, you could double your business, maybe triple your business just by either, and when I say business, I'm going to talk about revenues, right? So you could probably increase your income and your business by either hiring more people, potentially, and you could increase your business by increasing your prices. You could increase your business or your revenues by cutting some of your costs. There's lots of ways to increase the dollar amount in your business. But the only way to real scale your business is if what you have is a completely duplicatable system that you can plug anybody into and it will run. And until you can remove yourself completely from the business and plug yourself in, then you can't duplicate it. Like it's not really scalable. It's not, at that point, it's not scalable. And so what we're going to talk about is, what do you need to know? Because once you know certain numbers, it's not a ton of them, like 10, 15 numbers. Once you know 10 or 15 numbers, then even making an investment into your business or into yourself or anything like that, you look at the one side and say, okay, if I dump X amount in the top, I know I'm going to get Z amount return, and I will make that trade all day long. When I first hired Travis as my coach, I don't even remember what I paid you. It was a few $1,000s. And
it was more than that, but
yeah, I don't know what it was. The point is, it didn't matter. I know it was less than I got back. right?
Mm-hmm.
Within a year of being coached by Travis, I had increased my annual income by $36,000. Right. So it's like, I know I paid him less than 36 grand, and that $36,000 from what he taught me in 3 months has just compounded, right? It's just continued to grow. And so even if I had to pay him 36 grand, which I didn't, but even if I had to, it still would have been worth it, because that was only 1 year of the rest of my life of increase in income. And so understanding those numbers and understanding your track record makes it a lot less scary to actually go in and take, whether it's investing in a relationship, investing in a business, investing in a house. It doesn't matter what the investment is. If you already know with a high degree of accuracy the outcome because you've studied the past enough, then it's not scary to make those judgment calls. And then you can actually grow your business. Until then, it's going to be hard to scale your business. So that's what I'm going to talk about in more detail than
love it.
3 minutes.
I love listening to Sam's presentations. You do a good job with them, man.
Well, I have fun. I like interaction. So like if there's no interaction, then I'm feeling like I failed. So like variety show, game show type of interaction. That's me.
And if you're a speaker, I think that has to be one of your thing. You know, the old model of just getting up and preaching, that's dead. I mean, like we've been talking about on this podcast, like if you think that you're going to go up there and regurgitate information and it's going to change their lives, maybe it could, but you're just, you know, and you look at the way we're programmed, right? And the way we communicate, less than 10% of our communication and the way we receive communication from other people is words. So if you think your words and saying the right words, aka information, is going to transform someone, then you got to be kidding yourself, right? And you know, I've learned this early on in my career. So we really have to learn, how do we effectively communicate our business, our brand, you know, through our marketing and all these things. And so I couldn't think of another place. Anyways, nextgenmastermind.com. You said you have a code to get everyone a discount.
Yeah. So anybody who hears about it here, the code is Legacy. Just do it all caps. Make sure you click apply, or it won't show up. But once you click apply, then I think it drops it 50% off. So gives you 50% off the ticket. Entry price. I think your food's taken care of. 4 days. There's going to be like actual TV celebrities there. So you're going to want to be there and this is the other thing. And going to events, I don't know, probably for me, half to, let me put it this way. When I go to an event, I don't care how long it is, I'm looking for like 1 or 2 freaking awesome takeaways that I'm going to apply. I paid $10,000 to go have a 2-hour conversation for one takeaway, right? Like, it doesn't matter. The goal is, are you going to get that one takeaway? The other 90% of the event is all about the connections, the people you're going to rub shoulders with, the influence you're going to have, and the people that you can meet, those relationships. That is way almost more valuable in the long run than the 1 or 2 nuggets that you get out of it. Even though for me, I like both, right? Great relationships and great nuggets.
I would say this. I would believe that most business owners, and this probably includes, you know, myself and you, are 1 to 2 really powerful breakthroughs away from doubling their business. Mm-hmm. But the reason why we don't have those crazy big breakthroughs is because every single day we wake up, we're already seeking what we think we need to know. We already are thinking what we need to know. And that's usually not the answer of what you think. You know, the same mind that created the problem usually can't solve the problem. And I always share this, like, by the time you look at yourself, it's in the mirror and you've already reflected off what you already want to look at. You can't see your own eyeballs. And so what I love about events is it gets to challenge me in the way I think. You know, I love to research branding. I love to learn about marketing, mind and body, right? I am already programmed to look for certain things, but maybe that's not the thing that I need to learn in order to grow to the next level. And so that's what I love about events. And so that's why I always tell everyone is like, come open, Okay, let go of what you think you know is true, because sometimes we show up and we're looking for something, but maybe that's not the thing that we need to look for, that we need to seek in our business. And so that's why I love events. And I know that if you come to this event, it's going to be by far one of the best investments you've made by far in this year in your journey. That I promise.
Yeah, I would say probably in the last 3 years. Honestly, most people weren't doing a lot of investment last year, and 2019.
Yeah, there you go. 3 years
was good. But honestly, at very least 3 years, if not your life. Like this 4-day event will be better than going to 4 years of college. It will be. Like the 4 years of college,
as far as like applicable knowledge to actually grow your business. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And even probably the relationships. I mean, depends on which college you went to. Maybe you went to like an Ivy League and all those relationships are paying off now. But for most people, the relationships they will build at this event are probably going to be more valuable in the right now in their business and moving forward than even their college relationships were. So
yeah. And I don't know, did you have any good college relationships that built into anything into your career?
None. I mean, I had the fact that my teachers told me to drop out, so that was super.
I wish my teachers would have told me to drop out.
It was super influential. I was really grateful for them, but there's nobody that I'm like. I mean, I follow my teachers are 3 or 4 of my teachers. They are on Facebook and they follow me and they comment, and we have fairly varying opinions. So sometimes there's some heated debates going on between my old college professors and I. But the point is, like, there's a few of them, but nobody really from my college days. I have one really good friend, but outside of like just a friendship, that hasn't turned into any like value from a financial value, right? I love her and her friendship, but past that, no.
Yeah. And I was thinking about this too the other day. And usually the reason why is people who go to college, I mean, they're planning on getting a degree, right? So they can flash it to their next employer. So they hire them. So they're not really going the entrepreneur route. So yeah, I mean, it kind of makes sense why you wouldn't have a lot of good connections from college. And so that's why you got to venture out. That's why you got to be around other business. If you have your own business, you need to be around other business owners. And, I talk about all this money I've invested in the coaching and it's been by far worth it. However, what was the thing that really helped me is just being in the same vicinity of other business owners and just, gathering around the fire, camping, or like this weekend, almost every single person had a business that was doing, if not multiple 6 figures, but multiple 7 figures. And just to listen to the conversations and, get feedback and share what you're working through, what they're working through, that natural osmosis of energy is what takes people to the next level. And it's because, like we were talking about earlier, is because we're sharing experiences. Mm-hmm. And so come experience this and be around people. And I promise that by itself is what's going to do it for you.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And then you do other ones as well. So if you're not able to make it to the one in Vegas, then there's one in June in Arizona that's all about just influence and marketing. Then there's one in August in Arizona that's all about leadership. Like, how do you actually learn to lead? Because all of these are different skills: how to scale a business, how to brand a business, how to have influence in marketing. You'd think that, it's all similar. No, it's all connected, absolutely, but it's all very specific. And then leadership, you could have an awesome brand, you could understand marketing, you could understand how to scale, but if you suck as a leader, your business will fail. And so understanding all 4 different areas is crucial. So those are going to happen in Arizona. Then there's going to be some in Utah as well. But just because you can't go to one, that's one way. What's the other way to do it? Isn't there an online option for people who are?
Yeah, so you can attend online. So that one is $97 to attend online. So it's the same event. You're just attending virtually. We have an awesome virtual setup. It's not just some Zoom link that we set up in the corner. We're paying a high professional. That's his whole job, is to make sure the live stream is sounding good, looking good, multiple different camera angles, so you feel like as if you are there. So if you can't make it in person, we'd love to see you online as well.
Yeah, awesome. Hey, well, I'm so grateful that you were able to come on again. We finally found a time. The funny thing is we hang out more than enough times, but
Should just record our conversations.
I know we should. Next time we go golfing, just like push record. Because even that, I mean, that's the thing. Even when you go golfing, it's not about the golfing. It is about the golfing, but it's about being around other business owners, because most of the time what you learn, most of the biggest transformations in my business have not come from people in my industry. They've come from other industries who I've seen somebody doing something like, I wonder how I could make that work in my business. And I've adopted this principle from another industry and brought it into mine, and that's what's made me successful. The last thing I adopted was daily. It sounds dumb, but I have a team of people all over the country that I'm training and mentoring to do help people know how money works. And in that effort, it's hard. We're across 4 different time zones. How do you connect and build a team culture across that? So I'm like, well, how does it happen in summer sales? Because I did summer sales for 5 years. So how does the summer sales industry be able to take people from all different walks of life, all different situations, throw them into one place and create a camaraderie that everybody's pushing towards the same goal? Mm-hmm. And it's a mixture of daily correlation meetings that are like 30 minutes to an hour, daily training, and competition, like little incentive competitions. So I instituted those, and I'll say within 6 months, even though I was so close in 3 months, I would say within 90 days, my business doubled, and I was able to help more people, more families, simply because I got more clear on how to create a community. And that was from adopting it from another industry that's door knocking. Like, it's not even close to what I do.
Yeah.
But that principle applied and helped me. So it's that type of stuff that you might think, oh, I don't need to learn anything from an HVAC guy or from a roofing guy or from a therapist, right? All those things, they could all help you in your business.
Yeah. So there's this documentary that you need to watch also. It's called In Search of Greatness. And it shows some of these top athletes like Wayne Gretzky. And they're talking about like what makes an athlete great? Like what are the best athletes in our sports doing? And the best athletes in the sports, they're not just since their age 1 or 2 playing that same sport till they're up in the pros. What they usually do, what makes them great, is they're playing all these different other sports. And usually what makes them great is when they take the skills from one sport and they apply it to another. And they say that's what makes someone unstoppable in a sport, is when they are able to take an X factor from a different sport and apply it to this one. And so yeah, it kind of reminds me of that same concept. Like, just because it's not, in your specific industry, if you can take some other X factor that's working in someone else's and apply it to yours, I mean, it's going to take your business to the next level. And another principle before wrap it up, because I think this is an important one that leaders need to listen to, is if you're struggling, if I can go to myself, 3-4 years ago and give myself one message, the message that I would give myself is you need to start helping other people make more money. And that's why your business grew, Sam, is because you started helping other people make money. And when you start helping other people make money, guess what's going to happen?
That's just natural.
You're going to make money. So now, how do I help others make money? Well, you got to understand how to brand. Okay. You don't have a choice to look past it. You got to understand how to market. That's the blood of your business. Okay. You got to understand that at a deeper level. So you got to understand the sales and the service. And the more you can understand those and build strategies within that. And the key thing is teach other people to do that. That's the key. Right? Mm-hmm. Like I guarantee you that's what Mark Cuban does all day. He gets on the phone and he connects people and he's showing people how to make money. In the process of showing other people how to make money, it's coming back and it's helping him.
Yeah, no, it's true. I've seen it happen all over in my business, and the people that I've seen and tried to follow the most, that's what I've seen them doing. So I finally did it, but that's really the whole focus of next gen branding and the whole next gen team, is to take things from other areas and take things that you don't think are supposed to be there, combine them, create something new, like the alchemist, that's going to launch your business to the next level. So if that's something you're interested in, get to one of their events, and just be open to what do you not know, or what have you not seen in the same way. You could have seen something 10 times, and until you see it a certain way, it's not going to click. But once it clicks, it's going to change your business.
Mm-hmm.
So I would highly recommend spending some time looking at this event on nextgenmastermind.com. And the link will be in the bio, as well as that the legacy code for all those who would like to join. Fair enough?
Good talk.
Awesome. Hey, thank you. I'm going to let you get pick up your wife.
Don't let it be 2 years before you have me back on again.
No, I won't. Well, we're going to be living closer soon.
Yeah, we will.
Soon enough. Okay.
Thanks, man.
Later.
Appreciate you.
Yep. We'll catch you guys next time on the Fuel Your Legacy Show. Thanks for joining us. If what you heard today resonates with you, please like, comment, and share on social media. Tag me, and if you do give me a shout out, I'll give you a shout out on the next episode. Thanks to all of those who've left a review. It helps spread the message of what it takes to build a legacy that lasts. And we'll catch you next time on Fuel Your Legacy.